Have you been feeling more tired lately, waking up with less energy, or noticing subtle changes in your body that you keep brushing off as just getting older? What if I told you those quiet signs might not be aging at all, but your kidneys silently struggling right now, working overtime, filtering toxins every second without pain, without warning, until one day they simply can't anymore? I'm Dr. Richard Hale, and after decades of working with patients, I can tell you this with certainty. Kidney failure rarely announces itself loudly. It creeps in quietly while people feel mostly fine until toxins have already built up in the blood, energy is drained, and options become limited. That's why this matters, because by the time most people are diagnosed, the damage is already advanced. Here's the alarming truth most Americans never hear. Your kidneys don't fail overnight. They weaken slowly when the body lacks specific nutrients it depends on to filter waste, control inflammation, and keep blood flowing properly. And no, I'm not talking about exotic treatments or extreme diets. I'm talking about 4 essential vitamins that quietly determine whether your kidneys are protected or pushed toward exhaustion. When these vitamins are missing, your kidneys have to work harder just to keep you functioning. Inflammation rises, oxygen delivery drops, toxic waste lingers longer in your bloodstream, and over time that invisible strain adds up. But when these nutrients are restored correctly, the kidneys often regain balance, filter more efficiently, and operate with far less stress. That's why today is so important. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 4 critical vitamins that support kidney function at a biological level, helping flush toxins, protect delicate kidney tissue, and slow the silent decline that so many people don't see coming. Stay with me, because understanding this could change how you protect your kidneys and your future starting today. Let's start with the vitamin that quietly determines whether your kidneys can even protect you in the first place: vitamin D. Most people in America think of vitamin D as the sunshine vitamin, something for bones, joints, or maybe immunity. But here's the part that almost no one tells you clearly enough. Your kidneys are the organ that activates vitamin D. Without properly functioning kidneys, vitamin D stays inactive in your body, present but useless. I once worked with a man in his early 60s who did everything right. He walked outside every morning, ate reasonably well, and assumed his vitamin D levels must be fine. Yet his blood work told a different story. His vitamin D was low, his inflammation markers were creeping up, and his kidney function was quietly declining. The reason wasn't lack of sunlight, it was that his kidneys were already under stress and no longer able to convert vitamin D into its active form. Here's what's happening biologically. Vitamin D enters your body through sunlight, food, or supplements, but it starts off inactive. Your kidneys must convert it into a hormone-like active form that helps regulate calcium, phosphorus, blood pressure, and inflammation inside kidney tissue. When the kidneys are inflamed or damaged, this conversion slows down. Studies show that over 60% of people with early-stage kidney disease have low active vitamin D, even if they spend time outdoors. And this creates a dangerous feedback loop. Low active vitamin D increases inflammation inside the kidneys. Inflammation reduces blood flow. Reduced blood flow makes filtration harder. And as filtration weakens, the kidneys become even less capable of activating vitamin D. The decline doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly, month after month, while people feel mostly okay. Clinical research published in nephrology journals has shown that maintaining adequate vitamin D levels is associated with slower progression of chronic kidney disease, improved blood pressure control, and reduced stress on kidney tissue. In simple terms, vitamin D helps your kidneys do the same job with less strain. So what does that mean for you in real life? First, vitamin D levels should be checked, not guessed. Fatigue, frequent infections, bone aches, or unstable blood pressure are common warning signs. Second, vitamin D works best when the basics are right: adequate hydration, lower sodium intake, and enough magnesium, which helps activate vitamin D at the cellular level. And yes, supplementation can help, but only when guided and balanced, not blindly overdosed. Now here's the transition most people miss. Even if vitamin D reduces inflammation and improves blood flow, your kidneys still need oxygen to function. And oxygen doesn't reach kidney tissue by magic. It's delivered by your blood, which means the next factor isn't about sunlight at all. It's about whether your blood can carry what your kidneys need to survive. Because knowing how vitamin D protects the kidneys is important, but it's not enough, since there's another hidden factor that determines whether your kidneys are being fed or slowly starved. If vitamin D helps calm inflammation and improve blood flow inside the kidneys, the next question becomes brutally simple. Can your blood actually deliver what the kidneys need to function? And that brings us to a nutrient most people underestimate until it's already a problem: iron. Iron isn't just about energy, and it's not only about low blood. Iron is what allows your red blood cells to carry oxygen, and your kidneys, more than almost any other organ, depend on a constant oxygen supply to filter blood efficiently. When oxygen delivery drops, filtration slows, toxins linger longer, and kidney tissue becomes vulnerable to damage. I remember a woman in her late 50s who told me she felt exhausted all the time. She blamed stress, poor sleep, maybe even depression. Her lab showed mild anemia and nothing alarming, she was told. But over the next year, her kidney function quietly declined. What was missed was the connection. Low iron meant fewer healthy red blood cells, which meant less oxygen reaching her kidneys every minute of the day. The kidneys weren't failing dramatically. They were suffocating slowly. Here's the biology in simple terms. Iron is essential for making hemoglobin, the protein inside red blood cells that binds oxygen. When iron is low, hemoglobin drops. With less hemoglobin, oxygen delivery falls. And without oxygen, kidney cells can't generate the energy needed to filter waste like urea, excess fluids, and metabolic toxins. Research shows that anemia is present in up to 50% of people with chronic kidney disease, even in early stages. And correcting iron deficiency often improves both energy levels and kidney outcomes. Think of red blood cells like delivery trucks. Oxygen is the cargo. Iron is the fuel. Without fuel, the trucks don't run no matter how well the roads are built. And even if vitamin D improves blood flow, those roads mean very little if there's nothing being delivered. This creates another quiet cycle. Low iron leads to fewer effective red blood cells. Reduced oxygen weakens kidney filtration. Weakened kidneys then struggle to signal the body to produce more red blood cells. Fatigue sets in, brain fog follows, and when people feel drained, they're less likely to hydrate, properly eat well, or stay active, all habits that protect kidney health. The good news is that this cycle can often be interrupted. Iron-rich foods like lean meats, fish, beans, lentils, and leafy greens help rebuild iron stores. Pairing iron with vitamin C significantly improves absorption. In some cases, especially in people with kidney disease, supplementation is medically recommended and supported by evidence. Studies show that correcting iron deficiency improves physical function, oxygen utilization, and overall quality of life in kidney patients. But balance matters. Too little iron weakens oxygen delivery. Too much iron increases oxidative stress. That's why blood tests, not guesswork, are essential. Iron works best when hydration is adequate, inflammation is controlled, and supporting nutrients like B vitamins are present. And this is where things get even more interesting. Because oxygen delivery alone isn't the whole story, the quality of the red blood cells themselves matters just as much. And there's another vitamin often overlooked that quietly determines whether those cells are strong, efficient, and protective, or fragile and harmful. Because understanding iron is powerful, but it's not enough, since there's one more hidden factor that shapes how your blood, your oxygen, and your kidneys work together every single day. By now you can see how oxygen delivery shapes kidney survival. But here's the truth. Most people miss it's not just how much oxygen your blood carries, it's whether your red blood cells are built correctly in the first place. And that brings us to a vitamin that works quietly in the background, rarely discussed yet absolutely critical: vitamin B9, also known as folate. I once spoke with a retired teacher who kept hearing the same thing at every checkup. Your labs are mostly normal. Still, she felt drained, foggy, and swollen by the afternoon. What finally stood out wasn't her iron or vitamin D, it was her folate. Her red blood cells were present but poorly formed. They were larger, weaker, and inefficient at delivering oxygen to sensitive tissues like the kidneys. She wasn't lacking blood, she was lacking quality. Here's why B9 matters so much. Folate is essential for proper red blood cell formation. Without enough B9, the body produces misshapen or oversized red blood cells that struggle to move through tiny blood vessels. The kidneys are filled with microscopic filters that depend on smooth, steady blood flow. When red blood cells are inefficient, oxygen delivery becomes uneven and kidney tissue experiences repeated low-grade stress. But B9 protects the kidneys in another less obvious way: mineral balance. One of the most dangerous silent threats to kidney health is excess phosphorus. Phosphorus is everywhere in the modern diet. Processed foods, sodas, packaged meats, and healthy kidneys normally remove it. When kidney function weakens, phosphorus builds up and behaves like a sticky substance, binding with calcium and forming deposits. These deposits contribute to kidney stones, hardened blood vessels, weaker bones, and faster kidney decline. Research in nephrology has shown that folate supplementation is associated with improved vascular health and better management of mineral stress, especially in people with kidney disease. By supporting healthy blood cell turnover and improving circulation, B9 helps reduce the burden that excess phosphorus places on the kidneys. In simpler terms, it helps keep the filters clean and the pipes flexible. So what does this mean in real life? Folate deficiency is surprisingly common, particularly in older adults, people with kidney disease, digestive issues, or those relying heavily on processed foods. Natural sources include leafy greens, beans, lentils, and whole foods, but absorption can decline with age and illness. In those cases, doctors often recommend folic acid supplementation because it's affordable, well-studied, and effective when used correctly. B9 also works best in combination. When paired with iron and vitamin B12, it supports strong red blood cell production from start to finish. Hydration ensures nutrients reach kidney tissue efficiently, and reducing processed foods lowers phosphorus intake, allowing folate to do its protective work without interference. And here's where the story tightens. Even with enough iron and folate, even with better oxygen delivery and mineral control, there's still one missing piece: the system that coordinates nerve circulation and blood production into one smooth process. Because without that final coordinator, the kidneys may still struggle to stay balanced. Understanding folate changes how you see blood health, but it's not the full picture, because the next factor quietly determines whether all of this works together or slowly falls apart. By this point, the pattern should be clear. Vitamin D calms inflammation and improves blood flow. Iron delivers oxygen. Folate shapes the quality of red blood cells and helps control mineral stress. But there is one final factor that quietly decides whether all of these systems actually work together or fall out of sync. And that factor is vitamin B12. B12 is often marketed as an energy vitamin, but that label barely scratches the surface. Vitamin B12 is a coordinator. It supports red blood cell maturation, protects nerve function, and helps regulate how signals move between your brain, your blood vessels, and your kidneys. When B12 is low, things don't break all at once, they drift. Circulation becomes less responsive, oxygen delivery loses efficiency, and kidney filtration quietly suffers. I once met a man in his early 70s who complained of tingling in his feet, occasional dizziness, and mental fog. His kidney labs were borderline nothing urgent. What stood out was his B12 level. It was low, and it had been low for years. Over time, toxin buildup had begun affecting his nervous system, while poor nerve signaling disrupted blood flow regulation to the kidneys. His kidneys weren't just filtering poorly, they were receiving mixed signals. Here's the science behind it. Vitamin B12 is essential for DNA synthesis in red blood cells and for maintaining the protective coating around nerves. Without adequate B12, red blood cells can become fragile and short-lived, while nerve communication weakens. Studies show that B12 deficiency is significantly more common in older adults and in people with kidney disease, partly because absorption declines with age and illness. And when nerves that control blood vessel tone are impaired, kidney perfusion becomes inconsistent, sometimes too low, sometimes unstable. B12 also plays a role in managing mineral balance alongside other B vitamins. Research suggests that adequate B12, especially when combined with folate, supports healthier homocysteine levels in vascular function. Better vascular function means steadier blood flow through the kidney's microscopic filters, reducing long-term strain. In practical terms, B12 helps the kidneys work in rhythm with the rest of the body instead of constantly fighting against it. So what does this mean for real-life people at higher risk for B12 deficiency? Include older adults, those with digestive issues, kidney disease, or diets very low in animal-based foods. Symptoms can be subtle fatigue, numbness, memory issues, but the downstream effects are not. Blood testing is essential. When levels are low, supplementation is often recommended and supported by clinical guidelines, especially in kidney patients. B12 works best when it completes the team. Iron supplies oxygen. Folate ensures blood cells are formed correctly. Vitamin D reduces inflammation and supports hormonal balance. Together, they reduce stress on kidney tissue, improve filtration efficiency, and slow the silent decline that so many people miss until it's too late. Add proper hydration, fewer processed foods, and regular monitoring, and the kidneys finally get the support they've been lacking. And this is where everything converges, because when these four nutrients are missing, the kidneys don't fail suddenly, they are pushed day after day toward exhaustion. But when they're restored thoughtfully, the trajectory can change. And here's the part most people don't expect: how these four vitamins work together may influence whether dialysis ever becomes part of your story. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. If you've stayed with me until this point, I want you to know something important that tells me you care about your health, and more specifically, you care about protecting your kidneys before problems become permanent. And that mindset alone already puts you ahead of where most people are when they finally get bad news. The truth is, kidney decline doesn't usually happen because of one dramatic mistake. It happens quietly over years when the body is missing the support it needs day after day. The vitamins we talked about today, vitamin D, iron, folate, and B12, aren't miracle cures. But when they're missing, the kidneys are forced to work harder, filter less efficiently, and absorb more damage than they should. When they're restored thoughtfully, many people give their kidneys a real chance to slow down, stabilize, and function with less strain. My advice is simple and realistic. Don't guess, get tested. Pay attention to your energy, your labs, and the small signals your body sends. Focus on hydration, reduce heavily processed foods, and talk with your healthcare provider before making changes. Kidney health is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about making steady, informed decisions over time. If this video helped you understand your kidneys better, please save it so you can come back to it when you need a reminder. And make sure to subscribe to the channel, because I regularly share clear, science-based information to help you protect your kidneys, manage creatinine, and stay informed about the latest medical insights without fear, hype, or confusion. Most importantly, remember, this kidney problems don't mean your story is already written. With the right knowledge and consistent care, many people protect their kidney function far longer than they ever expected. You still have options, you still have time, and you don't have to figure this out alone.